So today we're going to talk to 211 about his upcoming album, Fragile Man. And I just want to thank everybody for watching and tuning into this interview. We're just going to talk a little bit about your new music and your motivation and everything.
Okay.
So one thing that I was really curious about is why your last album was so long ago and what made you want to get back into music.
Well, for starters, I released the album last year. Even though it was recorded in 2007, I was on deployment. And when I released that album, the market was changing on how music was distributed or sold. Usually, I would do a lot of shows and I would sell the bulk of my music at those shows. And at that time, iTunes was taking off. At that time, I think there used to be Zune Music, and so there was a lot of different avenues on how people were, getting their music.
Mm-hmm.
And because I moved from Los Angeles to the Pacific Northwest, there wasn't a big scene for gospel hip hop, and it was harder. The demographics were different, and it was harder for me to do shows to get off that type of music. So I didn't want to invest the money to produce a lot of CDs that I really couldn't get off of, because people were either buying it off of the internet, digital distribution, or whatever. So I sat on that music knowing that I couldn't perform it. I didn't have the avenue to really get out there and perform due to, one, my military commitments, because I was still in the military at that time, and two, the demographics, me going out and performing as much as I would have liked to have performed like I was in Los Angeles. So last year, I just put it out there just because I felt like it was a waste of time. Not a waste of time, but I felt like maybe somebody could get something from that album, City Lights. Mm-hmm. So I threw it out there just because I could. And I didn't have to press up any CDs, so it's a lot cheaper to just go digital distribution than pressing up a whole bunch of music. Mm-hmm. So that's why it took so long. The reason I started recording this album, Fragile Man, was 2 years ago. I don't know. The artist in me, I just had that itch. Mm-hmm. And I went in and recorded one song, and I just kept on going. Bought new equipment and everything.
Yeah.
And
I remember you just you kind of surprised me. Like one day you're just gonna, I'm gonna start recording out of nowhere. So
mm-hmm.
You didn't have an on switch, something that kind of triggered you to want to start doing it again?
No, it's just the artist in me. And I got inspired by some of the other artists I was watching at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big Anderson. I still am a big Anderson .Paak fan, and I was inspired a little bit by what he was doing, and because music, the sound had culturally shifted a little bit, and he really inspired me. So I was like, man, and I just felt like I just wanted to get back into it. I guess it's the artist in me.
Mm. So do you have a favorite song on your new album?
The favorite, I can't say I have one particular favorite song. Mm-hmm. I really would say I like Stained Glass. I like the songs that I feel that impact me the most. So I would say probably Stained Glass, and Fragile Man. Mm. Those two, because of they really speak from a deep place from where I'm at and where I've been at in my life. So
what made you want to talk about this stuff? Because some of it is very personal or private. Why put it out there in the first place?
Well, in my past albums, my past music, I've always been very personal. Mm-hmm. I've never hid anything from anyone. Mm-hmm. And that's just who I am as an artist. I feel like if I can't keep it real, then I'm not being a true artist. And so in my music, I never talk about things I supposedly have but really don't have. I talk about things that I have, things I've done, whether they're good or bad. I talk about things I've seen. Sometimes I get amused. I use other people as my muse, but my music is always based on reality, and it's therapeutic. You know, I'm a fragile man, and it's very therapeutic for me emotionally and spiritually and mentally for me to get my music out. I use it as a way of kind of like journaling.
I could see that. So like sometimes I think since you've been working on the album, like we've talked, and I'll realize like some of the things that happened like growing up, and like maybe some of the like triggers along the way. Like, do you want to talk about that at all? Like,
Well,
how you've like been dealing with depression and different things like throughout the years.
well, I will say over the past few years, or a few years ago, I was clinically diagnosed with depression, and that for years, I think I've had depression my whole life. For those people who don't know, my mother killed herself when I was 3 years old, and I really think that is contributed from depression. My sister has also tried to kill herself several times, and so growing up, I've always had this feeling of being sad for no reason, even as an adult, sad for no reason, but can never put my finger on it. And it wasn't until I was diagnosed, and even when I was diagnosed, it was because it's such a bad stigma, especially in the African American community. I still didn't want to acknowledge it, and I didn't understand how it made me feel, or not made me feel, but made me react to certain situations. And it wasn't till recently, within the last year or so, that one, I've accepted it, and two, understood the decisions that I made due to depression, how they were detrimental to my well-being, the well-being of my family, financially, emotionally, and you know, I believe even a couple of my children suffer from depression. Whether people believe it's hereditary or not, I believe it is. It's a chemical imbalance. There's nothing wrong with the individual who is depressed. I'm not crazy, as a lot of times the stigma is we're crazy, but we just have a chemical imbalance that, you know, just the same way as it might make you horny, or make you mad, or make you, you know what I'm saying? It makes me sad. You know, when the adrenaline makes you start shaking, you're about to fight somebody or something, it makes me sad. And sometimes there are triggers. There's things that someone can say or do to me that will trigger it. It could be, sometimes it could be music that triggers, it takes me to a place where I remember when I was depressed, you know. So there was a lot of things I feel that really didn't trigger certain songs, but there were things that did trigger certain songs. And so instead of being or instead of dwelling in it, I chose to do something positive and write it down. And that's what I did with this album. Ever since, you know, I've been putting the music out, I've been getting private messages, emails, even text messages from friends who have my number, and they talk about how they're happy someone finally is speaking up on it. How, you know, me sharing my story, how it's encouraging to them. And I just want to say to everybody out there listening that if you are going through depression, speak on it. Don't keep it inside, and forget the stigma. It's when we don't talk about it that the stigma continues to surround us and those around us. But speak on it. Find someone you trust, somebody that can be a resource for you. You don't always have to know them if you feel you're going to be judged, but there are numbers that you can contact, and I'm pretty sure, you know, maybe we can put those numbers up, you know, during the simulcast or whatever. But the point is, find somebody to talk to. Don't keep it inside, because keeping it inside is just going to make things fester, and it's going to make it worse. I've lost financial freedom because of retail therapy, because I felt I needed to buy this to make me feel happy, when in reality that was temporary satisfaction. So little things like that, the mood swings.
I'm glad that you brought that up, actually, because it's something that I wanted to like talk about too, is that when you're like with someone, in a relationship with someone, or maybe even just close to somebody that's struggling with depression, sometimes I think like you can feel like it's your fault, maybe, or like maybe something's wrong with you, like as far as like our relationship, or like maybe I'm not enough or something, like like as if maybe if I was different, like maybe you wouldn't feel that way. But it's definitely like a journey to realize like it doesn't really have anything to do with me or with our relationship, but just like something that you're dealing with and that I can help you with, but it's still something that you have to kind of like navigate on your own, and I can just support you and stuff. So
but I think the key in when you are with someone that is suffering from depression, I think the key is for that person that is going through the depression to communicate with their partner.
Yes.
And let them know that it's not something that they're doing that's making them depressed. If there is something they're doing to make them depressed, to speak on that. But if it's not something that they're doing to make them depressed, and it's just like that weather, that clouds just coming over. It's just that feeling, that mood, that energy that's coming over you. Let those people around you that you love and care about, let them know.
Yeah.
Because so that they don't feel the way you felt, or like it's your fault, or what can you're not happy. I'm not happy because you're not doing something, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's important to open up the dialogue and let that person know, hey, I'm just going through this mood and it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
But in that way, it's easier for those people to support.
But I think it's like been a journey for both of us, like for you to get better at explaining it, and then for me to understand as well, and then just to not take it so personally, like it's something that's about us when it's really not,
Yeah.
So I'm just glad that you mentioned that, because I think maybe other people experience the same thing.
Oh, I know so.
Yeah.
And then the children experience it too, because here it is, you got
I'm sure.
you have a husband and a wife or whoever, and you have the two parents arguing. The kids see it, and they're arguing because one person's suffering and the other person doesn't understand, or maybe they don't even know they have it, and they think this person is making them upset when they're really not making them upset. The person with depression thinks that their partner is the reason for them being depressed or upset or hurt or sad or whatever, when in reality it's not the partner, it's them. And they argue, there's the mood swings, all that, and the kids see that, and it really hurts, everyone involved. And your kids may be suffering from depression too, and it might be a trigger for them. So depression not only affects the person that is happening to, but it affects everyone around them.
Yes, definitely. I've definitely seen that with my family, and then with you too. So it's definitely something that you have to learn how to like listen to people that are struggling with it, and just try to support them as best as you can, Well, my favorite song on the album is A Day Closer to Death. So I like how you talk a lot about like your goals, and still like like where you feel like I look at you and I feel like you've done so much with your life, but to hear you talk about like still wanting to do so much more, it's like very interesting. But I think a lot of people feel that way, like even though you can accomplish so many things, you still want to achieve more in life. So what made you want to talk about that in your song?
Well, why not? I didn't have a concept for that song at first. It just came to me, and I just started writing what's on my heart. So I do that a lot with my music. Before, I would write a song and try to find a beat to go with it or whatever, but I don't do that anymore. I feel like that's forcing the music. I let the music speak to me, and that's what came out. In the song "A Day Closer to Death," I feel like and I honestly feel this. I feel like just us having this conversation is seconds closer to death. And there's so many things we want to do in our life, but we always put them off. Well, maybe I'll do that next time. And you may not have next time.
Yeah.
Why are we procrastinating when we should be doing things to push us towards whatever it is we want to do before we die? You know what I mean? So that's what it's kind of about. It's about also self-examination. You know, I talk about gaining so much weight and knowing I'm susceptible to heart attacks and losing family who's died from heart attacks, things of that nature. So for me, it's a very real song, but it's aimed at a target audience. And a lot of that has to deal with adults. You know, I'm not talking about young adults who are out there partying, having a good time, and just out there living it up. I'm talking about the adults who, you know, maybe you're done with all that. Maybe you're focusing on, all right, you have some children, you're looking towards grandchildren now. You know, I'm talking about making enough money to pass something on besides bills to those who are left behind after you go. Generational wealth, things of that nature. When I was younger, I didn't think about things like that. Now that I'm older, I have these type of thoughts. And that's the difference between this 211 album and my older 211 album. It's been 11 years since I recorded music, and a lot has changed in my life since then. Yeah. My mentality has changed. And so it's not that that I don't love God or love the Lord anymore. It's not that, you know, those things I said on those albums before I don't believe in. It's just that I'm a different person and I've grown a little bit more. I'm not as judgmental as I used to be. I mean, if you listen to an old 211 album, I used to talk about gays and things like that, and it was very harsh. Yeah. Now, I'm not backtracking on anything that I said, mind you. But what I am saying is that I learned to have a lot more love and tolerance in my life than what I had before. And so, again, I've changed and grown as a person.
So you think this album is showing that, the growth?
Not really. No? It's growth as a man and my experiences, but I don't rehash what I talked about on the old albums to show the growth. You know what I mean? Right. I'm just saying that now so that if people do go back and listen to some of my older stuff, they'd be like, oh, he said this, he said that. Well, I've changed since then. Maybe some of my thoughts or my views are not or have changed. Maybe they haven't, maybe they have, you know?
Okay. So what about your Barry White song?
Okay.
Like, where did you get that from?
Well, the Barry White song, Barry White was from Los Angeles, just like I'm from Los Angeles. And believe it or not, Barry White was a gangbanger. Now, I was never a gangbanger, but what I used Barry White as a muse because he was from, you know, L.A. like I'm from L.A. He had a goal, and he walked from South Central to Hollywood to pursue his dream of music. He wanted to get out of that situation. He said when he got up there to Wilshire, he saw Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and he said he knew this is where I need to be because he wanted to be out of that situation. He walked the whole way. Well, myself, I didn't walk, but I have traveled a long way from Los Angeles and Pomona, because I mean, I can't say I'm from Los Angeles and not say Pomona as well. I grew up in Los Angeles, also grew up in Pomona. And so I left the hood, so to speak, the hood, to better myself. You know, I live here in the Pacific Northwest. You know, I got a house in Seattle, got a house in Portland. And I came here via the military, but my life is a lot different than it would be if I would have stayed there and lived in that environment. And so how Barry White sought a way to make his way out the hood and do something positive with his life and pursue his dreams. I did the exact same thing. And so that's why I use Barry White as a metaphor in the song Barry White, you know, and I even have Barry White talking about him being from Los Angeles
Yeah.
and joining a gang, and he lets you know when I was a child I did childish things, but when I became an adult I put those type of things away, and he had to do what he had to do to make it up out the hood. So that's kind of what that song is about. So it's a song, again, an autobiographical song, but also a song of inspiration, hopefully, to somebody else to say, well, you know what, if Barry White 211 can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah. I actually never knew any of those things about Barry White, like, until you had talked to me a little bit more about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the interview for myself. I never would have thought that, because it's just not the image you get from him, the smooth talker. But yeah, it is inspiring. So who exactly are you reaching out to in this album?
I don't have a target. I do have a target audience, but I don't have a target audience. I always say, because of my age and because of the content, maybe the target audience would be people my age, but I think there are certain songs that young people could learn something from as well. I think when I was younger, I've always wrote my music for those people in my age group. And so I don't go into a project thinking, oh, I'm trying to reach the 18, 19-year-old. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When I was young like that, maybe I was doing that because I was talking about the same topics that they were kind of going through. But I've always had a mature conversation because I talked about marriage. I've always talked about things, but I got married at a young age. You see what I'm saying? So things were different then, and they're different now. So I would say my target audience would be the older generation, because my music don't sound like the music of the younger generation, if that makes sense. My style of hip hop isn't the same. Not knocking them, but my stuff don't sound like 6ix9ine or Lil Yachty.
How do you feel about that music?
Honestly, I think if that's what the young people into, that's for them. But that just ain't the style of music I like. I come from a time in hip hop where, one, you kept it real. Two, you had something positive or something meaningful to say in your music. And three, we talked about saying no to drugs or selling drugs, vice taking drugs. You know what I'm saying? I never talked about selling drugs. I might have said something about don't do some drugs or whatever. I even talked about a song. I said I never did drugs, and that I don't care. I don't care if anybody says, "Oh, he a square." I've never smoked weed. I've never had a desire to do those things. You see what I'm saying? So, it's just not my thing. So if other people do those things, that's on them. I'm not knocking them either, but that's just not for me. So my music never evolved around that. My music has always been evolved, making a difference in somebody's life and having fun. So that's kind of, I'm still on that same path with this album.
Mm-hmm. What songs did you have fun doing?
I have a song called Zodiac with my nephew that I have fun doing it. And I have 2 songs that I did with my nephew. He a little out there, you know what I'm saying? He a little out there. So that's my disclaimer for that. But he's still my nephew. I love him. And he put a battery in my back. He helped me. He really inspired me to get out there and finish this album when I was kind of in a stuck place. And he hit me with 2 tracks. And he's very talented. He's great. He's a good lyricist. I think he has a good sound for sound as far as the music sound. And he came up with a nice hook on Zodiac, which was a very fun song and video to shoot. Mm-hmm. We got another song called Never Going Broke, and it's funny because I see him being the young rappers out today. They talking about a girl or drugs or this or that, whereas that's not my focus. So there's like a yin and a yang on that track, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where he's talking about one thing, I'm talking about another. And I think a song like that may be able to cross over and reach a younger target audience, and then I can, you got the older audience can listen, you got the younger audience that can listen. So those are probably some of my fun songs. I got a song on there called Back in the Day, which is an ode to back in the day. It's a dude named Mama used to have a song called Back in the Day, and he kind of reminisces about being in junior high and doing this or that or whatever. So I kind of reminisce about being in junior high and high school and how things was. I talk about my car. Everybody laughed about it and teased me about my car, but my car was bomb. And it's just a fun song, all around. It's a lot of fun songs on this album.
So did you have any songs that were like that you struggled like writing or like expressing whatever you were going through at the time?
No,
not
one.
So you flowed through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Nothing. There was no struggle. I look at music as a canvas, and so whatever's up here is what I paint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like, for example, I have a song called Summer Nights. When I heard the beat, it reminded me of Summer Madness from Kool and the Gang. And Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince had sampled that for summertime. Summertime, right? And so it kind of had that feel. And so when I started writing it, I was writing about a summer day. And then at the same time, the way it came out, remember, I don't pre-think it or not, I just let it flow. And the way it was coming out, it was sort of like Ice Cube's "The Day Was a Good Day." So where he chronicles the beginning of his day to the end of his day. Yeah. And so that's kind of what I did. I took that same premise and I just went from the beginning of my day to the end of my day on a summer day and having fun in the summer night. And I love that song. It's probably one of my favorite songs on the album, as a matter of fact, because I love the instrumentation of it. I love the music. It's just a fun song. So you know how you have those summertime anthems? I'm hoping this could be one of those songs that people will play in the summertime.
I see. So some of your songs I feel like are like almost like where you're giving advice and things like that. So why did you choose to talk about certain things in some of your songs?
Well, again, at that time, if, say for example, I had a friend who was struggling in a relationship. We had been talking about the relationship, and it was what was on my heart. So I used her as a muse for that song. And it's not really the whole song, but a verse of that song. The song you're referring to is "Let Me Clear My Mind." And what I was doing was actually literally clearing my mind of things. And I was talking to this person, and I was talking to another person, and I was talking to another person. I was clearing my mind of the things that were on my heart. So, I mean, even though it's 3 different people, they're not all the same topic.
Yeah.
And so the good thing I like about it, it's an eclectic song. So one person can be going through the same thing and like, dang, I feel like he was talking to me. Another person can be going through this and feel like, dang, he talking to me. Because in one song, I'm saying how, people think you changed because you chose to better yourself, and they stuck in their place and they looking at you like you crazy. The next verse is about a person that they have all these goals and aspirations, and sometimes they just need a little push to get to those goals and aspirations. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they need to be reminded of how blessed they are or how strong they are as individuals, because sometimes they can get down on themselves. And then the last one is about a person struggling in a relationship, and sometimes you want change, you got to be the change. You know what I'm saying? If you keep doing the same things over and over, you're going to keep getting the same results. And so again, 3 different people, 3 different topics, all in one song, because I'm actually clearing my mind. So I'm asking the listener, give me a second of your time, let me clear my mind, because it might be something that can actually affect their lives,
Okay. What about, do you have any ladies anthems?
Ladies anthems?
Yeah, a song for a lady.
I think they're like Zodiac, because we talking to our ladies in the song, and I think it's a fun song. It's not anything derogatory. It's just about are women or whatever. So I think that could be considered a ladies' anthem.
Yes.
But I think if women listen to the song, they will be encouraged too, because I like in Clear My Mind, I talked to a couple of women in there. But any verse could be directed towards whether it was a lady or a man. So yeah, I mean, my music isn't really written towards guys or towards women. It's kind of unisex. So if I talk about money and being our own bosses, that can be driven towards a woman or a guy. Yeah, it doesn't have to be, to just a man per se.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely can see the progression in you and some of the things that you chose to talk about. Like your mindset, you can definitely see where you are at this point in your life. So it was interesting to hear all of your music.
Mm-hmm. It's good. I'm glad you feel that way.
I think, to be honest, too, maybe some of the songs like Fragile Man. I mean, it's hard sometimes to hear your partner, like, just like we were talking about earlier, to hear how they feel when they're struggling with depression. It's hard to hear that stuff. So I would say it is a little bit shocking, because, who wants to hear that they're like somebody they love feels that way, like so down, and so it can be scary sometimes to hear about that stuff. But I'm trying not to take it like a diss towards me or something, or our relationship, but like realize it's something that you are dealing with. That's what I would say I learned, I guess.
Okay. Fair enough.
What about, what do you think you've had the most fun doing in the album? Like writing, or you've been making videos? Like, what do you think has been the most enjoyable for you?
The whole process. I would say the whole process has been an enjoyable one for me. I really enjoyed collaborating with my nephew. Really did. I enjoyed actually collaborating with my two boys, Andre Jr. and Joshua. It's been a trip to see how they grew up watching me perform and do music and record, and to see them now, being grown and recording themselves. You know what I mean? Joshua really, really shocked me with his writing skills, because I knew Andre Jr. used to write. He always wrote, and I would hear some of his recordings or him just rapping around the house. And I got him in the studio and we recorded a few songs or whatever, and I was pleasantly surprised to hear his growth, But what really shocked me was Joshua, because I never heard anything from Joshua. Joshua just said, "Dad, can you record me?" And I was like, all right. So from the first time he opened his mouth, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy got a hit, like out the gate. I was really shocked at the content, how he delivered it, the catchiness of the music. And so after recording with him a few songs, and we have a song on the album called "We," that originally it was his song. And I liked it so much I had to go in and re-chop it and jump on it myself. You know what I mean? Because I feel it's that infectious, and I hear it all the time. It's a dope song, what he's saying in it and everything, the content. And Andre Jr., he had a beat that was just fire. And just like Joshua, I said, "Hey, you're going to have to let me jump on this, because this is too hard." Like the other songs, it was cool. I ain't knocking them. They was fly. But this one, like, dude, I was feeling that. So I jumped on it, and it's on the album. So
is it weird for you, like, collabing with your kids?
No. I treat them like I treat any other MC. I'm trying to eat them up, too. In the vocal booth, is competitive. I'm trying to eat them up, too. They got to come with the A game.
And they know this?
They will now. I would like even my nephew. If we gonna be on a song together, and this is any hip hop artist, they all know. it's very competitive, especially, you know, I've recorded with a lot of artists. It's very competitive, and I always try to come in and tear everybody's head off if I can. Sometimes I get my head tore off, but there's times I let them have it. I very seldomly take an L on the track. I'll put it that much.
Do you have any desire to collab with anybody else?
That's a good question, and I do. You know, one of my favorite hip hop artists, a friend of mine named Selah. We've done a couple of things together before in the past. I would love to do something with him. He is one of the guys that I would take an L to all the time. Like, he is that dope. Like, you know, I can't tear his head off in the track, but to do this because he's so good, and it seems like it's effortlessly. But he pulls out the best in me, which I really like. But I would love to work with him. I would love to work with my boy Retro again. He's out in California as well. But I know he's DJing right now, but I don't know if he's got on the track in a while. So, and me and my nephew plan on doing some more music together. Like I said, he really inspired me and put the battery in my back to kind of help me get back out there on the grind and keep pushing. But as of right now, that's about it.
Okay. What message do you think you want people to take away from the whole album?
One, to if they are suffering from mental health issues, rather if they're having thoughts of suicide, tell somebody. If they're suffering from depression, tell somebody. Talk about it. Don't let the stigma just stick around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We as people of color need to get out there and be more vocal. And even my white brothers and sisters, you know, and it's not just for fellas and as all. I know there's a lot of women out there who suffer from depression as well. Talk about it. Talk about it. Talk about it. At the same time, I don't want to just make you down and bring you down. I want to entertain you. I want to make you laugh. I want to take you back a little bit and give you something to think about. So, you know, the overall message is you're gonna hear messages from a fragile person, a person that is human. But at the same time, not all messages are bad messages. There's some motivational, uplifting messages in there as well. Messages about love, messages about loss, messages about change. So it's a good gumbo of collective ideas and thoughts that I think, you know, overall people can listen to this album and walk away feeling like, dang, you know, I may not be feeling this track because I'm not going through that, or I just don't like it. But I am feeling this one over here. This one resonated with me in some way or somehow. You know, it's not a monolithic conversation here. It's you know, I'm hitting a lot of different things in this album. And I do that with all my music. That's the cool part. I've always thought like that, you know, being a preacher, being from the church, you know, I knew how to structure a message to where it felt like I was talking to everybody in the audience, or my target audience. And so with this, I do the same thing, but I don't pre-plan it. I just do it, and it just comes natural for me to talk to everybody and try to make a difference, you know. So yeah.
When you started working on this, it was quite a while ago, but did you think at that time, like, I'm gonna put this out, or I'm just like having fun, I'm just making this music?
Actually, no. As I kept recording, then I said, I think I got something here. And you know, people don't really put out a full project anymore. They just kind of put out a few singles. Yeah. And if you got a big name, maybe you will put out a project because that's what's demanded of you. But in the digital age, people put out a couple of singles and move on. But I'm still from the old school, and so you know, I wanted to put out. You know, I floated them out there a little while earlier, like on SoundCloud, to get a little feedback. Didn't really get too much because I don't have that many followers, but you know, I didn't think it was going to be a overall big project. But you know, like I said, after I started recording more and more, I said, okay, yeah, I got something here that I think it could be worthy of a release, you know. So that's what I did.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting and fun to watch you work on this and put it all together. I've enjoyed listening to the music, and I think everybody else will enjoy it too.
Yeah. So the album drops November 9th, which is this Friday.
Yeah.
I'll be dropping another video with the album as well. I got one video out right now, Stained Glass. That's doing pretty well. It's moving around. I'm getting a lot of feedback from it. Every day people are hitting me up about, you know, depression and how they're feeling and stuff like that. So I'm doing that, and I got a few other videos that I got tucked away that I'll be releasing eventually, you know what I mean?
Right.
But as for right now, just kind of focus on Stained Glass and the next one I drop. So
I thought you were going to release something special with this video.
I will. I'm gonna premiere the new video, Never Going Broke, featuring my nephew, 7th Ave. So stay tuned. It's coming up next.
You guys are gonna like it. It's very catchy.
Thank you for doing this interview and helping me get my message out.
No problem, Mr. Floyd. 211.
Goofy. All right, so hey, world premiere, Never Going Broke, 211, featuring my nephew, 7th Ave. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.
Chillin' in my Volvo, hatchback, hot box, riding the Pike Place to see the gum walk. Then hit the Space Needle, next move is Outcast. Sit on the beach, roll J, and get high. Watch time roll by with a blonde head. Caucasian chick, and her thighs are super thick. Counting blue face hundreds, and I'm constantly just getting rich. Hashtag fuck native, that's the movement. Bought an ounce off the club, now I'm getting faded. Put it in a raw cone, got me levitated. Now I'm chillin' in my mind's blown, meditated. Then I got the munchies, your boys feeling hungry like woo. Like woo, Ric Flair, I'm the nature boy like woo. Bands on my feet, kick push like school. Playing 2K with my girl in the kitchen making dinner. Macaroni and cheese with steak on the side. Now it's time to eat it up. When I'm finished, clean it up, bend her over, beat it up. Put it all up in her guts, kiss her on the lips, thanks for dinner. Time to make a move, favorite shoes and Vans, but I wanna wear some Gucci's too. Open my eyes and it's a clear view. Walking down the aisle with the veil all over you. You permanent in my life, just like my tattoos. But I'm married to the money, screaming cash rules. Everything around me, dollar bills, got me living on fancy hills and driving foreign cars, doing things I've never seen before. Making all this music, stacking money, never going broke.
Let them know, nephew.
I'm never going broke. Stacking all this money, making music, never going broke.
Right. Stacking money, making music, never going broke. Right. Stacking money, making music, never going broke. Right. Stacking money, never going broke. Here we go again, never going broke again. I'm never losing ends, always chasing dividends. Always about my paper, my neighbor, my life is good. Sitting on chrome and leather, whipping, I'm gripping wood. Owning property properly and enjoying views. From Rainier to Mount Hood, houses coming twos. Debt low, credit good, yo, I can't lose. Stocks on the rise, racks in the bank, woo! Ain't trying to brag, but damn, it feels good to be self-made, winning, and I'm out the hood. I can't forget where I'm from because the struggle made me. That's why I refuse to lose, won't let the struggle break me. I gotta get mine, focus on the bottom line. Stacking in the summertime, trying to get my commas right. Sipping to say lemon lime, bad bitch, she a dime. Economics on her mind, all about that dollar sign. Gotta keep my pockets right, got them stocks diversified. Extra funds set aside, just in case some stuff arise. I'm not in love with the paper's not my savior. I thank God for these blessings, won't let the devil play me.